Hi everybody, welcome to the video tonight. This video is going to be on fasting for health. Yeah, I'm sitting in a different spot. You got a different view of my apartment. Woohoo! It is Sunday night and I'm on the 5th day of my fast. Usually one of the first questions, sorry about the glare in my glasses, but I kind of see a thing without them. One of the first questions people usually ask me is, how long are you going to fast? And my answer to that is always my body lets me know when it's done. There are certain telltale signs where you know it's time to start eating again. The human body most people can fast for up to 40 days before the body will actually go into starvation mode. You feel like you're starving, but you're not because your body has so much tissue that it will live off of. And I'm not talking about eating yourself to death. That's not what I'm talking about neoglucogenesis, not what I mean. So let's start off with, here are my two fasting books that I've had literally for, I don't know how many years. This is Fast Your Way to Health. This is a very religious book. It's based a lot on the Bible. This is when I bought this when I was a born-again Christian. This book was published in 1971, so it's pretty old. A lot of things are outdated, obviously, but a lot of things are still extremely relevant. This is the other one I bought in 1995. This is Fasting and Eating for Health. This one, look, I was married. I was married at the time. So these are the two main books because when I started fasting in my 20s, there was no internet, there was no Google. So you had to read, books. Books, how about that? And I just want to say, yes, I've been fasting since I was in my 20s. I started fasting probably with just one day, don't even remember, and probably very mild. So I do it regularly, and I do it 2 to 4 times a year. I do it for cleansing, like a spring cleaning, a rejuvenation of my physical body. I used to have some of my Christian friends that would chastise me a bit, saying, you're not supposed to let people know when you're fasting because the scripture says that, fast in silence, and, because you're fasting for spiritual reasons, to get closer to God, to get rid of sin, this type of bullshit. And I would always say to them, I'm not fasting for spiritual reasons, I'm fasting for physical reasons. So I'm not trying to be spiritual, I'm trying to be healthy. How about that? So I started fasting 1 to 3 days, and it was quite mild when I would do it back then. The first several times I fasted, because I didn't have a great diet back then, I always would get headaches. I always would feel shaky. I had to lay down a lot. Any of my 5 kids could tell you that, because I homeschooled them. And when I was fasting, I was on the couch a bit. I'd get them set up for school, and they'd be like, you guys gotta lie down. Like, I had no energy. I was really drained. It was hard. So the stages that I've come through with fasting have been great. And I started, like everybody else would start, feeling like shit. I'm hungry, I just want to eat. I graduated to 5 days and then 7 days. First time I did a 7-day fast, I remember we as a family went out to an Italian restaurant or whatever, and everybody felt so bad. They were just like, we don't want to eat in front of you. And I'm like, look, this is self-imposed. I'm doing this for me. It's okay. Don't feel sorry for me. I'm enjoying smelling the food, like the garlic bread, and the spaghetti and stuff like that. So when you undertake a fast, you have to be of the right mindset. It does take definitely mental fortitude. You have to be ready for that. You have to be ready for the fact that you're going to be hungry. You might be shaky. You might get a headache. There's going to be other things that can potentially happen. None of those things happen to me now. It's the exact opposite. I am far more energetic when I fast. I usually can't get to bed till 1 or 2. I still lift, and I lift heavy. I still do my cardio. The only thing I did do back then on that first 7-day fast was I was a runner then, competitive runner, and I did run a 5K race, and I won overall first for female, and identify. Sorry, I had to throw that bullshit in there. I did have to. I laid on the grass right after that. I laid there for a little while, but it's possible. The human body is highly adaptable. It will adapt to whatever stimulus you give it, and it's an incredible living organism, and it has a lot more wisdom than we do about how it maintains its health, strength, and longevity. It will respond to our stimulus, and that stimulus can be good or bad or whatever. It will respond, but it knows what it needs to do, and if you get out of its way, like fasting, boy, it will go through a serious cleansing and healing. It's amazing. I fully educated myself with my books before I even embarked on a 1-day fast. So I encourage anyone to do that. I know a lot of people, when I tell them what it feels like, or I tell them what all the positive things are, and they're like, oh, I'm going to fast. I'm going to stop eating tomorrow. And it's like, no, that's not how it's done. You will fuck yourself up. So don't do that. There are 3 basic types of fasting. I'm going to start with the one that I don't think too much of, and that's intermittent fasting. And the reason I don't think too much of it, it's not that it's not beneficial. It can be if it's done consistently enough. I think the reason I'm not crazy about it is that most people do intermittent fasting because they're trying to lose weight. And I'm like, okay, yeah, well, are you going to do that for the rest of your life? Because you have to be consistent no matter what you do. The other one is partial fasting, and that's abstaining from just certain foods for a certain amount of time, kind of like what Catholics do with Lent. They give up something, but they still eat. Or they, so that's partial fasting. You can do that. A partial fast would be like, let's say you take a day or 3 days or 5 days, and all you do is bone broth, or something like that. I'm not a big fan of fruit juices, and we'll get into that. There's reasons for that. You won't get the full benefits, even with bone broth, because it is nutrition, so your body's going to still be digesting. Then the other one, the third one, the main fasting is absolute fasting, or prolonged or extended fasting. And that is where you don't eat anything. Now there is, added to that, there's something called dry fasting, where you don't do any liquid and any food. Never done a dry fast. Not a fan. I don't think it's healthy. My kidneys need water. So, but extended or prolonged fasting, you can do anywhere from 1 to 40 days. The human body's amazing about that. And here's another thing. It's a bit of a misnomer. People misunderstand what fasting is. So they're like, oh, you're doing a water fast? No, because if I was doing a water fast, that means I would be fasting from water. So I'm doing a food fast. So I am taking in water, but I'm not taking in food. I am fasting food. Usually people say it backwards for whatever reason. Now the human body is designed to fast. It's built into the genetic code. And so not only does it do it very efficiently, it utilizes the glucose stores, the stored fats, the inert tissue. Inert tissue can be anything from fibroids, benign tumors, bone spurs, calcium deposits, scar tissue. There's all these things in your body that will sit, but when you fast, your body will start scavenging them like mad for fuel. And so many things it does. It repairs, it restores, it resets, it cleanses, and it bolsters itself in the process, the immune system. Animals fast. If you pay any attention, they fast during hibernation. So, I mean, not all animals, but some animals go complete, no food, through hibernation, mating season, after birth, and while nursing. And most commonly noted is when an animal's sick. And I tell this to people sometimes when they get sick and they eat, and I go, pay attention. Please pay attention. When an animal gets sick, first thing it does is it stops eating. It will sip on water. Sometimes it will go eat grass to vomit, depending on what it's trying to purge. But there's a wisdom. It's just like there's a wisdom here. That's the first thing I do. When I get sick, I stop eating. I immediately start a fast. That might be bone broth. You know, I might give myself something, but it'll be no foods, no regular diet. Humans tend to do the opposite when they get sick. They usually eat shitty things like soda and crackers, like white refractory. I don't even know where that came from. But anyway, and they will end up doing a list of pharmaceuticals to fix the stuffy nose or take the fever down or make the sore throat not so sore. So they end up not only being sick, which shows your body's toxic to start with, and they just load more toxins. Fasting can help get residual toxins out of your cells. It's another thing it does from pharmaceutical drugs. So the interesting thing that happens when you fast, in the first 1 to 2 days, your body runs off of glucose. Then it realizes that it needs to conserve its lean muscle mass. So basically on day 3, fats are starting to be broken down and utilized by the muscles, the heart, the liver, not the brain, because the brain can't operate off of fats. Day 3 and on, the liver starts to generate large quantity ketones. From the fat stores. So now your body's going into those fat stores. Ketones rise in the bloodstream, and the organs and the brain use them for major fuel. Therefore, it limits your muscle wasting. Ketone acids are used primarily by the brain, the muscles, and the heart, which is muscle. I'm going to give a short list, and I've gone over my 10 minutes. It won't be much longer. Short list. Short list of benefits of 5 days or more of consistent fasting. Ready? It decreases inflammation. Day 7 to 10 on a fast, it decreases your rheumatoid arthritis symptoms. It increases microcirculation to the joints, which means less stiffness. It allows the digestive tract to heal. It bolsters the immune system. Blood pressure drops and sclerotic plaque is removed. It increases growth hormone, HGH. It increases stem cell production. It utilizes inert tissue, fibroids, benign tumors, keloids, calcium deposits, bone spurs. It clears excess mucus out of the body. It strengthens the liver. It can shrink nasal polyps. It diminishes asthma symptoms. Improves acne and eczema. You'll have clearer skin. It increases longevity, anti-aging benefits, slows down cellular aging, reduces insulin resistance, lowers the risk of cardiovascular issues, lowers the risk of cancer. Autophagy, which is the recycling of cells, it's cell cleanup. Improved memory, reduces oxidative stress, and lastly, and least important, weight loss. So, if you fast for 12 hours, all food has been burned. After 14 hours, utilizes the stored fat. 16 hours, ramps up fat storage. 18 hours, HGH starts to skyrocket. 24 hours, autophagy begins. After a 36-hour fast, just 36 hours, autophagy increases by 300%. That is dead cell or messed up cell cleanup. 48 hours, autophagy increases by another 30%. And 72 hours, autophagy maxes out. So, if you don't know what autophagy is, Google it. You don't have to go get a book. Some of the side effects are detox headaches. If you're a big caffeine drinker, if you eat a lot of crap, you're going to get headaches. Don't take NSAIDs. It just goes against the whole point of fasting. Just take a nap, but there are other things you can do. Orthostatic hypotension. that dizziness, getting up too fast. Because during a fast, your blood pressure will drop. If your potassium drops, that is an issue. It's a rare thing that happens. If the potassium drops too low, you have to stop the fast. Some people get nausea and vomiting. I've never had that. And the other thing, obviously, dehydration. So you got to keep an eye on that. So this is my video about fasting, longer than I wanted it to be. I will come back to this next week so that we can have some interaction. There can be questions if anyone has questions. If you have questions, maybe you can even message me through the week. And then what I'm going to be doing for the video following that is you are what you eat. So along with fasting for your health and longevity, you also need to pay attention to what this living organism actually operates optimally off of. Thank you, and let me know what you think, and let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you next week.